Good morning, everyone. Sunday Gita class. And before we start, I just want to make an announcement here that 2 weeks from yesterday, so like a Saturday, October 29th, we are starting another Gita class. So it's Saturday morning, 10:30 to 11:30. And that Gita class will be all in English. And each lecture will be just one chapter. So we'll have about 18 lectures on the Bhagavad Gita. So if you're interested, or if you know somebody else is interested, please let them know. Okay, spread the word. Thank you. Okay, let's do the Gita Dhyanam before we start our studies. Om Parthaye Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayan Swayam Vyasen Grathitam Puran Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritvarshinim Bhagavati Mashtadashadhyayane Ambtvam Anusandhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshane Namo Astute Vyas Vishal Buddhe Full Arvind Ayat Natrved Yen Tavya Bharat Tel Purnaha प्रज्वलितो ज्ञान में प्रतिभा पर पान पारी जाताए तोत्र वेत्र एक पाने ज्ञान मुद्राए कृष्णाए गीता अमृत दुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोगदा गोपाल नंदना पार्थो वत्सा सुधीर भोगता दुग्धम गीता अमृतम महत वसुदेव वसुतम देवम कंस चानूर मर्दनम देवकी परमानंदम कृष्णम वंदे जगद्गुरुम भीष्म द्रोण तटा जयद्रथ जला गांधार नीलोत्पला शल्य ग्रावती कृपेन वाणी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थाम विकर्ण घोर मकरा दुर्योधन अवर्तनी सो तीर्णा खलु पांडवै रन नदी के वर्तका केशवा पाराशरे वत्सरोजमलम गीता अर्थ गंधोटकम नानाख्यानक केसरम हरि कथा संबोधन अबोधितम लोकेश जन षटपदय रह पे पिये मानम मुदा भूयाद भारत पंकजम कलिमल प्रध्वंसी न श्रेयसे मूकम करोति वाचालम पंगुम लंघ्यते गिरम यत् कृपातमहं वंदे परमानंद माधवम यम ब्रह्म वरुण इंद्र रुद्र मरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्येस्तवे वेदै सांगपद क्रमोपनिषति गायन्ति यम सामगा ध्यानवस्थित तद्गतेन मनसः पश्यन्ति यम योगिनो यस्यन्तं न विदुसुर असुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः. We are trying to study chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita, Vibhuti Yoga. And we ended our last week class where Lord Krishna is teaching us how to fill our heart with the love of God. Or the lovers of God, what do they really do? How do they spend time? He says, with their minds completely resting in me. That means in God. With their senses absorbed in me. That's why we have the beautiful forms of God, beautiful names of God, beautiful diyas in the mandir, the incense also for all our senses, and sweet tasting prasad also. So senses absorbed in me, enlightening each other. Then what do? We talk about God. And ever speaking of me, they are satisfied and delighted. We all want to be satisfied. We all want to be happy, joyful. So my devotees, he says, find the satisfaction and the delight talking about me. Talking about me. And what is the effect of that? Because after having reached this stage of progress in their march, they have gotten so far. They have a lot of strength in them. What really happens to them? Let's look at verse number 10. Tesham satat yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yen mam upyanti te. Tesham, to them. Satat yukta nam, ever steadfast. Bhajtam, of the worshipping. Priti purvakam, with love. Dadami, I give. Buddhi yogam, buddhi yoga. Yoga of discrimination, buddhi yoga. See, there was a karma yoga, there's a hatha yoga, there's a raj yoga, bhakti yoga. Now he is introducing to us to this new term, buddhi yoga. Tam means that, yen by which, ma means to me, upayanti come, they means they. To them ever steadfast, worshipping me, and again you all know worshipping means loving God, loving me. So worshipping me with love, I give the buddhi yoga, or yoga of discrimination, by which they come to me. So this kind of a higher discrimination takes us to that realm. But remember, the very first thing is steadfastness. Steadfast in their contemplation on the self at all the levels of their personality. That means the body also, mind also, intellect also. That's how they get the necessary strength and also ability to go through those last ranges of their ignorance. Because this buddhi is the one which destroys the ignorance in us, this avidya, this agyan. That's how they withdraw their identification with their upadhis, the lower layers of their personality. So he says to those individuals who are steadily contemplating upon the self, and also in the atmosphere of love, bhajatam priti purvakam, with love, with delight, with contentment, they identify themselves with the infinite. To them, he says, I promise, I give the buddhi yoga, with which they come to me. So if you want to define buddhi yoga is the right knowledge gained through meditation upon the infinite nature of the self. That's buddhi yoga. Sure, it starts out with the intellectual contact and comprehension of the reality. But don't make a mistake that this means that intellect can comprehend the infinite. Intellect is still part of the Prakriti, which is finite. But it helps us. See, just like a ladder is not the roof, but a ladder helps us to reach the roof. The same way this intellect, this pure intellect, when we use this way, we can reach. He says, I give. God helps us. So when through the above passage of bringing the mind to this calmness, this quietness, a meditator has succeeded in controlling those mental agitations, which are called vikshepa. And because of that, the avarna has been lifted, the veil has been lifted. He can experience a samadhi, which is the fulfillment of buddhi yoga. Okay, so buddhi yoga is the right knowledge gained through meditation upon the infinite nature of the self. So fulfillment of that is samadhi. You reach the samadhi. And why do we need this buddhi yoga? What exactly does the God provide to the seeker? Let's look at next verse, verse number 11. Tesham ev anukampartham aham agyan jamtama nashyami atam bhavstha gyan deepen bhaswata. Tesham, for them. So those seekers, ev means mere, anukampartham, out of compassion, anukampa. Aham, I, a Gyan Jam, born of ignorance, Tamaha, darkness, Nashyami, I destroy. Atam Bhav Satha, dwelling within their heart. Gyan Deepen, by the lamp of knowledge. Gyan Deep, Bhaswata, luminous. Out of mere compassion for them, I dwelling within their heart. So he says, I already am dwelling in their heart. Destroy darkness, born of ignorance, by the luminous lamp of knowledge. Okay, so this light of this lamp destroys the darkness of the ignorance. It's already existing, but it has been veiled. We don't see it. So we need to do this sadhana. That's why he said, be steadfast. It's almost like if there's a darkness in the room and I'm looking for something, that thing is already there. All I need is to turn the light on, remove the darkness, have the light. Whatever is already there will be seen very easily. Sometimes we say, yeah, that light brought that thing to me. But the thing was already there. So that's why he says, I dwelling within their heart. I am dwelling there. So this is kind of an analogy. The self that is already existing in us, it's almost like a ducking in there. But it seems like it's a ducking in there. But when the favorable conditions are present, it gets unveiled. Unveiled. We got to remove or learn to remove these unfavorable conditions. And that's why we do this sadhana. So even in the darkness, self is abiding. In the extremely negative personality also, self is abiding there. We don't recognize it, or that person is not recognizing it, but it does abide there. Because it's not available to our subjective experience. But when the seekers who have established themselves in what he has mentioned so far, like a constant awareness of the Supreme, they master the Buddhi Yoga. They become fit for the final experience of the real identity within themselves. So Buddhi Yoga amounts to the Samadhi experience, by the way, because you're more familiar with that term, Samadhi. Dharana, Dhyan, and Samadhi. So Buddhi Yoga is Samadhi. Even though there is a little film or little obstruction is still there when you have a Buddhi Yoga. That's why that level of a Samadhi is called the Savikalpa Samadhi. Okay, but from the Savikalpa Samadhi, if you keep staying on that path, keep on doing our sadhana, we reach the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the experience of the infinite. So Savikalpa, then Nirvikalpa. We get transported into that with God's grace and of course our own effort also. So the Savikalpa alone is the realm of conscious effort. It's like a self-effort we need to make. So it comes not as a result of any deliberate action, but spontaneously you just keep on doing the sadhana, it comes. So it's almost like a partial revelation, but ultimately Nirvikalpa experience of the infinite is the grace of the God and the Guru. So when the darkness of ignorance is destroyed by the luminous lamp of knowledge, the self stands revealed in its own glory, in its fullness. There's no doubt about it there. And this compassion cannot be directly invoked unless the seeker pays the price for it. Okay, the price is surrender. Price is living a yogic life. price is having a love for God. Whatever he has been talking about, that is the price. Then he says, out of compassion. So it's almost like we say that the sun comes out, gives us the light out of compassion. But we have to remove the curtains. Or if we want the air, fresh air in, we got to open the window. So then we can say, yes, out of compassion, the sun came in my room, or the fresh air came in. So the same way, we got to remove the veil of ignorance, which is nothing but our mental agitations. And where do the mental agitations come from? They come from or caused by the cloudiness of our intellect. So clouds in our intellect covers that knowledge. So far, Lord Krishna has given the highest knowledge to Arjuna and to us also for our self-development and self-realization. Arjuna is not satisfied. Because unless you experience it, you should not be satisfied. So Arjuna is not satisfied. So that's why we'll see in the next few verses, Arjuna is raising his doubts. He is requesting the Lord to help him gain a confirmation through actual experience. Because these were just words of Lord Krishna. Arjuna had the quest to experience it. So that's why he says, I really don't see it. So let's see how Arjuna is putting his doubts or the questions to Lord Krishna. Verse number 12. Param Brahm, Param Dham, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan, Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adi Devam Ajam Vibhum. Param, supreme, Brahm. Dham means abode. Pavitram, purifier. Paramam, supreme. Bhavan, you. Purusham, Purusha, that means the Atma. Shashvatam, eternal. Divyam, divine. Adi Devam, the first God, the original, primeval. Ajam, unborn. Vibhum, omnipresent. So Arjuna is saying, you are the supreme Brahman, the supreme abode, the supreme purifier, eternal, divine Purusha, the God of all gods, unborn, omnipresent. So he understands this, that his Guru is God. So continuation of this in verse number 13, Ahu Tvam Rishya Sarve, Dev Rishi Narda Tatha, Asita Devla Vyasaha Swayam Cha Ev Bravomi. Ahu, they declared, Tvam, you, Rishya, the rishis, the seers, Sarve all, Dev Rishi Narad. Okay, Dev Rishi Narad. We are all familiar with this name, Naradji. Tatha means also Asita Devla Vyasa. These are the other rishis. Swayam, yourself. Cha means and. Ev means even. Bravoshi, you say. Me to me. So he says all the rishis have thus declared you as also the Dev Rishi Narad. So also the Asit, the Deval and Vyasa. And now the same you yourself say to me. So Arjuna is over here confessing that he had already been taught through the Vedic passages about the great seers of the old who have indicated the infinite, the eternal, supreme Brahma, supreme abode, supreme purifier. You are the birthless, all-pervading, omniscient, omnipotent. He says, I have heard about it. These phrases from everybody, but now you say the same thing. I cannot comprehend it. I cannot understand how you are the source of the whole universe. It's almost like he's saying that I need more data. You have given me information, but I need more. I'm not satisfied yet. And let me tell you about these ancient rishis. The names I've mentioned here. Narad, you already familiar with. Dev Rishi Narad. He is the son of a creator, the Brahma. Asita, he is mentioned in a Lalita Vistar. That's another scripture. Deval is the son of Vishwamitra. And we learned about Rishi Vishwamitra in Ramayana. Vishwamitra. It is mentioned in Vishnu Purana also, Deval. Vyas is the author of the Puranas, expounder of the Brahma Sutras, and first editor and the publisher of the Vedas in 4 volumes, Rishi Vyas. So Arjun is acknowledging and recognizing that, yeah, these great rishis, they have said it, you have said it, and you are saying it again here. That Lord Krishna, you are a living creature standing in front of me. But you are saying, I'm everything. How can I accept it? So you can see that Arjun's confusion, and he cannot comprehend how the Krishna, his friend, his cousin, is that supreme Brahman. Sure, he is dependable. He is highly intelligent, very diplomatic, but Arjun is confused and he's wondering. So that's why continuation of this in verse number 14. Sarvam etat ritam manye yat mam vedasi keshav na hi te bhagwan vyaktim vidu deva na danva. Sarvam all etat this ritam true. Manye think. Yat means which, mam to me, vadasi say. That means like a you say, Keshav. That's Lord Krishna. Na means not, he means verily, te means your, Bhagwan, Lord. Vyaktim, manifestation. Vidu, no, Deva, gods. Na Danva, the Danava. I believe all this that you say to me is true. So he says, I don't doubt it. I do have faith in you. O Keshav, verily, O blessed Lord, neither the Devas nor the Danvas know your manifestation. That means your identity. So Arjun here is expressing his faith definitely in his teacher, but he is confessing that I regard all that you say is true because I know, but still I need to know more. So Keshav really means one who removes all sorrows. That is the meaning of Keshav, all sorrows. Okay, anybody who surrenders to God, sorrows are gone. It's like a sorrow is the one which you feel with the mind. When your mind is connected with God, God is all joyful, all bliss. Physical pain or any kind of a torture, the mind doesn't feel it. So remover of all the sorrows. So he cannot comprehend the significance of the Lord's declarations. That's what it all means over here. So Arjun admits here that his heart is satisfied with all these different terms he has used. He says, definitely, I believe in you. It's almost like an overflowing with faith and belief, but his intellect is starving. It's the heart and the intellect. His intellect is very thirsty also. So thirst to know is echoed in the second half of the first line, when he admits that neither the devatas nor the danvas know your personality. Devas are the son of Danu. I mean, Danavs. Danavs are the sons of the Danu. Devatas are the illumined divine people. Okay. So Devas are highly sensitive beings in the heaven. Purans, they describe it. Very subtle perceptions, very strong emotions, very mighty in intellect, the Devatas. But the Danus on the Danavas, the sons of the Danu, they challenge the heavens from time to time. And that's what we read in the Puranas. They obstruct the sacrifices. They generally live a undivine life, Danavs. That's why you can say that Devas stand for nobler and higher comprehension in us. See, all the Devatas and Danavs, they are in us too. Positivity and negativity. So when the positive is rising, that is a Devata in us. When we help somebody, even if we lose something, that is a Devata in us. And the Danav is a host of the negative urgencies in us. When we become greedy, when we become violent, when the me and mine is very strong in us, that is a Danav. Okay, so subjectively, Devatas stand for the nobler and the higher comprehension, and Danav for the negative urges in us. Remember that. So over here, what does he really mean? That neither the Devatas nor the Danavs know you. That means neither the good in us can embrace the truth, nor can the bad in us challenge and bring up the truth. So these are the two methods available to us, positive and negative. It's almost like a friend or an enemy. Danav is like we are enemy to ourselves, and Devata is like we are friend to ourselves. So Arjun is saying neither way we can comprehend or apprehend the individuality in us, the total personality. Underneath the personality, the self which is hiding there, we really cannot understand it. So if nobody can know the truth, why is Arjun asking Lord Krishna to explain? Let's see what he says in the next verse. Verse number 15. Swayamevatmana atmanam vetatvam purushottam bhut bhavan bhutesh dev dev jagatpate. Swayam, yourself. Ev means only. Atmana, by yourself. Atmanam, yourself. Vetat, no. That means you know. Tvam means you. Purushottam, the supreme Purush. Bhut Bhavan, source of beings. Bhutesh, O Lord of beings. Dev Dev, O God of gods. Jagatpate, O ruler of the world. How beautifully he's expressing his love for Lord Krishna. He says, verily, you yourself know yourself by yourself. O Supreme Purush, O source of beings, O Lord of beings, O God of gods, O ruler of the world. So he is voicing it out. He says, self is not an object. We really cannot know it ourselves. We cannot use any of our instruments, positive or negative, to apprehend or to know ourselves. Because it's not an object. Object can be known through the instruments. But the self being the awareness, it is itself is knowledge. To know knowledge, no other knowledge is needed. So that's why Arjuna is saying, you yourself know yourself by yourself. Swayam atmana atmana. So over here, Lord Krishna is being recognized and glorified by Arjuna as Brahm. Because he is addressing the Lord as the source of beings. That is Brahm. The Lord of beings. See, Bhut Bhavan Bhutesh Dev Dev Jagatpate. The Dev of the Devatas. The ruler of the world. See, this kind of awareness or the knowledge is possible only when our mind, our intellect doesn't have any disturbance. Whiteness. Only then this illumination of the consciousness we can apprehend. In the next verse, Arjuna is very directly expressing an intellectual demand. So you can see clearly he believes in it. Faith is there. But he has the urge to experience it too. He says, Vaktu maharasi asheshena divyahi atam vibhutiya yabhi vibhuti bhi lokan imam tvam vyapya tishtasi. Vaktum, to tell. Aharasi, you should. Asheshen, without reserve. Like without anything remaining. Ashesh. Divya, divine, he means indeed Atam Vibhutya, your glories. Remember the title of this chapter, Vibhuti Yoga, Atam Vibhutya. Ya bhi, by which Vibhuti bhi, your glories, Lokan, words, Imam, these, Tvam, you, Vyapye, having pervaded, Tishtasi, exists. You should indeed, without reserve, tell me of your divine glories, by which you exist, pervading all these worlds. There are several worlds. Even the scientists, they call it a multiverse these days, not a universe. Multiverse. So Arjuna wants to know what exactly are the Lord's divine manifestations in the multiple worlds of polarity. He is convinced that Lord is the essence. Without Lord, these universes cannot exist. Lord is the substratum of all the universes. But when he looks out into this world, through his very familiar instruments, which are like his body, senses, mind, intellect, he doesn't recognize it. So intellectually he knows, but experientially he doesn't see. Because this cosmic man, which is called Ishwar, the Lord, the Ishwar is both transcendental and immanent in all names and forms. Lord Krishna has been saying it. And Arjuna says, I believe that. But I don't experience it. I have a sharp intellect, but still I cannot experience it. And Arjuna, being a man of action, a Kshatriya, supremely practical minded person, wanted to get sufficient information for his intellect to ponder over, so that ultimately he can experience. verse number 17, he says, Arjuna is still talking. Katham vidyam aham yogin, tvam sada parichintyan, keshu keshu cha bhaveshu, chintya asi bhagwan mea. Katham how, vidyam shall know, aham I, yogin, O yogi. Tvam you, sada always, parichintyan, meditating. Keshu keshu, in what? What? Cha means and, bhaveshu, aspects. Chintya, to be thought of. Asi means are, Bhagwan, O Lord, maya by me. Arjun says, how shall I, ever meditating, know you, O yogi? In what aspects or forms, O blessed Lord, are you to be thought of by me? Look at the urgency in Arjun's heart and the mind. Do we have this kind of a desire to know God? To meet God? To talk to God? If we don't, we got to kindle this desire. Supreme cannot become an object of any intellectual comprehension. Got to have an intense desire to see it. How am I to meditate so that I may come to know you? Because he knows that meditation is needed. I need to focus. I need to unfocus from everything else and focus on you only. But he says, how can I do it? Because the goal of a seeker, over here, goal of Arjuna is to know the truth in his own personal experience, not just somebody else's words. He wants to experience it. Arjuna is addressing Lord Krishna in this verse, O yogi. And moreover, he makes it very clear when he's requesting Lord Krishna to explain that without reserve, Arjuna asks, in what forms? So that means not just this form or that form. He says, in what form are you to be thought of by me? So that's why I said without reserve. He says, just tell me which form. Even while living the life and meeting its problems, if a person remembers constantly the divine presence everywhere, one must know exactly where to seek for it. So that means the form is needed, the name is needed. It helps our mind. So it could be a combination of a name and a form. So that's why he said, in what aspects or forms? Bhaveshu chintya asi bhagwan. So he makes it very clear that even if the answer be very lengthy, please tell me. We'll see that in the next verse. Vistren atmanaha yogam vibhutim cha janardhana bhuya katham triptihi rinvataha na asti me amritam. Vistren, in detail, atmana, your, yogam, yoga, vibhutim, glory, cha means and, janardhan, that is for Lord Krishna. Bhuya, again, katham, tell, tripti, contentment, he means for rinvataha, hearing. Na means not, asti is, me of me, amritam, nectar. Tell me again in detail, O Janardhan, of your yoga power and imminent glory. Why? Because I do not feel satisfied by hearing your life-giving nectar-like speech. A true student of any knowledge should have, first of all, this insatiable thirst to understand, to know, and to appreciate. If you don't have that kind of a thirst, if you think that we know enough, we have heard enough, that's where our progress stops. So this kind of a thirst. So this kind of appetite. So without this appetite, no knowledge can be digested by the student with any kind of a gain. Especially in this subjective science, this subjective experience. Objective science is sure. It can be, I know it, I see it, I touch it. This object is there, I got it, I'm done with it. But subjective experience, this satisfaction should not be there. So the knowledge gained is to be not only digested and assimilated, but lived intensely. So that's why this desire to listen, this is called a jigyasa. So every student needs to be a jigyasu first. First jigyasu, then pipasu, then mumukshu. So whatever we hear, then it has to get assimilated in us. Then ultimately, mumukshu. We want to merge in God also. That's mumukshu. So the anxiety to learn, we see it in Arjuna over here. This is a very noble quality. There cannot be any progress without it. Jigyasa. So Arjuna had the noble trait to a large extent when he is confessing over here that I am never satisfied with listening to the nectarine words. They are like amrit to me. The discourses which Lord Krishna is giving to him. So it's almost like a state of fascination we hear in his words. More and more of the spiritual discourses is indicated here. Even though this listening is not the end, but this is definitely a good beginning. Because this will kickstart our progress. Because there are thousands and thousands of people out there, they can't even stand anywhere near philosophical discourse. So if we have the urge to listen to the philosophical Bhagavad Gita or any other scripture, that means the seed has been sown there. Because majority of the people, the masses, they are not jigyasus. But Arjuna, we see that, jigyasu. So Lord Krishna will see that in the next verse, or almost like the rest of the chapter, with a very motherly patience, he's answering his question. He's going to give the examples. Where can you, even though I'm everywhere, but where you can focus and see me. So those are almost like those divine Vibhutis he is giving it to us for us also to meditate upon those. And we don't need to meditate on all of them because there are quite a few he goes through. Even though he says at the end, this is nothing. I have only given you a little glimpse of it. But he'll give us altogether about 75 different examples. So next week we'll start with the verse number 19. And that's where Lord Krishna starts to talk. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamev Avasheshyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.